Number 10, the domes of Casa Grande. If you've never heard of the domes before, you might think they're UFOs or something out of a Star Wars movie. However, the reason these saucer shaped structures were built isn't that interesting. According to the EarlCup.com, the domes were built in 1983 by Intercon Technology Incorporated, a manufacturer of circuit boards for computers and watches. In the beginning, operations seemed to be going very well. The shape of the structures led to a low cost and speedy construction time. Each structure cost around $150,000 and only took about 6 weeks to build. However, just as these buildings started to go up, that's when the plans started to go south, just like a snowbird when they can't handle a little cold weather. Operations halted in 1983 when the company defaulted on a loan. Construction was never continued, and the domes just sat out in the middle of the desert, decaying in the harsh, unforgiving sun. The domes remained abandoned for 40 years and were subject to heavy vandalism, parties, and supposedly satanic rituals. However, I don't believe that part about the rituals. I think it's just some stupid rumor that got made up by some keyboard warrior that spends too much time online. Anyways, the domes were eventually deemed a hazard and were demolished in early 2023. Let me know in the comments if you've ever visited the domes. Number 9, Big Surf in Tempe, Arizona. This iconic water park first opened its doors on October 24th, 1969, and is regarded as North America's original inland wave pool. Big Surf Water Park was the first to offer locals the opportunity to ride waves without driving 400 miles across the desert to reach California's coast. Back in 1965, it may have seemed like a pipe dream to some, but not to Phil Dexter, an ambitious engineer who became inspired after driving from San Diego to Los Angeles and seeing surfers out on the water. He became captivated by the beauty of the waves and people riding them. This led to him experimenting in his backyard and making waves of his very own. Fast forward a few years later to 1969, and now desert dwellers could get a taste of riding waves on the coast without actually being there. The wave pool attracted people from all over, including some celebrities. Other than the famous wave pool, the water park did feature over a dozen additional rides, and over time they added facilities such as shops, a musical stage, and concessions. But unfortunately, the creator, Phil Dexter, passed away in 2014, and it would be another 6 years before the water park closed in 2020. The water park had a good 51-year run before closing its doors and was later demolished in 2022. What you're seeing now is a drone view of where the famous water park used to be. Do you remember going to Big Surf Water Park? Number 8, the Phoenix Trotting Park. It was a horse race track that stood tall just southwest of Phoenix in Goodyear, Arizona. It was built in 1964, which also happens to be the same year that the Beatles first came to America. The building was made with a futuristic design, and according to TheSun.com, it was originally budgeted at $3 million, but ended up costing around $10 million. When it first opened, they offered many incentives to get people in the doors, one of them being free parking, and I really wish Las Vegas did the same. They did have decent attendance for a while, but unfortunately for the Phoenix Trotting Park, just like my last marriage and dubstep, its presence was short lived. Many factors led to its closing, such as hot weather, rain, which often led to floods causing accessibility issues, and back in those days, it was 20 miles outside of Phoenix. Getting there wasn't easy, and there hadn't been any major roads leading out there. Phoenix Trotting Park finally closed its doors in 1966. The building sat abandoned for 51 years, collecting dust, pigeon poop, and succumbing to the elements of the deserts. Now, it had been visited many times by urban explorers from all over, and you can find many of their videos on YouTube. Phoenix Trotting Park was eventually demolished in 2017, and this is what the area looks like today. According to 12newsnow.com, Goodyear High School is being built here and is expected to welcome students in the fall of 2025. Number 7, the Scottsdale 6 Drive-In. Formerly located off of McKellips Road and McClintock Drive, this piece of American culture brought crowds in for 34 years. But sadly, drive-in theaters, just like vinyls, landlines, cassettes, VCRs, digital cameras, cash, video cameras, video rental stores, you get the idea. These are now becoming things of the past. Now, according to cinematreasures.org, the 6-screen O-Zoner opened on February 9, 1977, on land leased from the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. It was open year-round and had a capacity for 1,800 cars. According to EastValleyTribune.com, the drive-in had a 25-year lease with an optional 10-year extension. But as the lease was reaching its expiration date, the landowner of the property that the drive-in sits on reached out to CFI Enterprises. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but oh well, which is who owns the drive-in. Long story short, they were unable to reach an agreement. It closed on August 28, 2011, and was later demolished in May of 2014. And this is what the area looks like as of today. You can still make out the rows where the cars would pull in to face the screens. And I once had an old coworker tell me that this is where she had her first date. She said the dude was a complete jerk, but now they're married and they live in Kingman, so I assume it worked out. Number 6, Fiesta Mall in Mesa, Arizona. The mall first opened its doors in October of 1979 and graced the residents of Mesa with its presence for 39 years. Some of its bigger stores when it first opened were Sears, the Broadway, Goldwater's, and Diamonds. I made another video on this mall detailing more of the history and footage inside the mall when it closed, and I'll be sure to link that video down in the description in case you guys want to check it out. Many people shared their fondest memories in the comments of that video, talking about how it was where they spent their weekends growing up, taking their dates, going to a movie, or just killing time and spending money they didn't have on things they didn't need. Gotta love credit cards. Avril Lavigne even performed a free concert here back in 2004 for the Live by Surprise tour, where she would show up and perform a free show at malls all across the United States, and not revealing the details of that show until 48 hours prior to the event. A crazy psycho also stabbed two people here back in 2008, not the mall's finest moment. Over time, new shopping centers were popping up across the valley, foot traffic declined in the mall, online shopping was on the rise, along with crime rate and sketchy activities in the area. The entire mall closed in 2018 except for Dillard's. They were able to hang on for a little while before closing their doors in 2019. The mall was demolished over the summer of 2023, and being that I lived just down the street from the mall at the time, I was able to capture quite a bit of footage of the mall being torn down. Day by day, I went out there flying my drone over the site, and little by little, I saw it disappear. It was actually kind of fun, and I got to chat it up with the workers here and there. As of this video being made, the old mall has been completely leveled, and aside from some dirt, junkie needles, trash, and fake palm trees, this is all that sits there to this day. According to Google, the property is going to be replaced with mixed-use development, featuring housing units, retail, offices, and restaurants. Feel free to share your memories about the Fiesta Mall down in the comments below. Number 5, Santa Claus, Arizona. Every time I drove past this place on my way to Las Vegas to make poor decisions, I couldn't help but wonder whose great idea it was to put up an all-year-round Santa Claus-themed tourist attraction out in the desert. Well, that is credited to Nina Talbot and her husband. According to AtlasObscura.com, the Talbots founded Santa Claus, Arizona in 1937 as an attempt to attract buyers to the desert location. Now, in time, the tourist attraction did become increasingly popular, but no one ever bought land there. Go figure. Santa Claus was sold in 1949 and encountered small moments of success as the years went on. By the 1970s, it had already begun to fall into disrepair, and by 1995, the last gift shops went out of business. What little remained of Santa Claus over the years had been subject to heavy vandalism and been boarded up many times only to be broken into time and time again. The footage you're seeing now is what the attraction looked like back in 2020 when I stopped in on my way back from Las Vegas. I do believe it was torn down in early 2022, and as of March 2025, this is what Santa Claus, Arizona looks like. Nothing but an empty lot with a dilapidated sign that looks like it's about ready to fall over, kind of like my wife's father at the DMV when he's been waiting in line too long. Now, in my opinion, if there was ever an opportunity to revive this area and install a new tourist attraction, I think that time is long gone. On the plus side, if you do pull over here to have a smoke break, you'll get great cell service. Number 4, Echo Bay Resort at Lake Mead. This popular summer destination was really something back in its heyday. Echo Bay Resort was built in 1962. It had 54 hotel rooms, a bar, restaurant, and a conference room. Now, I never had the chance to visit it when it was open, but I can only imagine how awesome of an experience it was, especially back in the day when the water came all the way up to the resort. Believe it or not, the water used to come all the way up to here, and now look how far away it is. It's more depressing than listening to Fergie try to sing the national anthem. Echo Bay is only a 50-mile drive away from Las Vegas and is still worth visiting if you're in the area. There is a little grocery store and gas station out there for the residents at the campground and RV park. In the time the resort was open, many actors, musicians, and countless families would pack up and leave Sin City to get away for a more relaxed environment. But sadly, as the lake levels dropped, so did business. According to NevadaMagazine.com, in late 2010, the company that ran the hotel canceled all remaining reservations and closed up shop. It sat abandoned for the longest time, and while the National Park Service tried to find a buyer, no one was interested. Luckily for me, I was able to capture some video of the resorts in its final days. It was eventually demolished in 2023, and if you go out there today, you'll just find a parking lot to nothing. Number 3, Cracker Jacks in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is another one of those places that hits you right in the feels. Cracker Jacks was built in 1993 by the Herberger family, who owned the land and park. For nearly 30 years, it held quite the special place in people's hearts. Over the years, it hosted a variety of events and parties for corporations, families, schools, and charities. According to WilliamsLuxuryHomes.com, it was one of the first amusement parks in Phoenix to offer go-karts. Cracker Jacks also offered more fun activities, including mini golf, bumper boats, laser tag, batting cages, arcade games, and a driving range. I did do a brief video on Cracker Jacks about 1 year ago, and it was pretty sad reading all the comments and seeing how this place meant so much to all the kids and divorced parents that spent their time there. In my opinion, I think smartphones and tablets are replacing the last bits of genuine fun that are to be had in this generation, and malls and amusement parks are slowly disappearing from society. Over time, competition from other venues increased and equipment was slowly becoming outdated. Cracker Jacks lasted nearly 3 decades before closing in 2022. Nowadays, Cracker Jacks is barely standing and it hasn't been torn down just yet. But over the last year, I've been reading multiple articles saying that demolition is near or that demolition is underway. But I was just out in Scottsdale a few days ago and it's still there, so who knows when exactly it's going to be knocked down. But I do know that the place where you and your friends spent your childhood while your parents drank Fresca in the food court and complained about who was on the school board will soon be another empty lot until it's replaced with restaurants, shopping, and apartments furnished with cheap couches and appliances from IKEA. Now, this next one you've probably never heard of, and if you have, good for you. Number 2, Little Jamaica. This little piece of tropical paradise is located in the northwestern corner of Arizona, and what made it so unique was that it was located underneath an overpass. If I were to tell you to close your eyes and picture what might be under an overpass in Arizona, you might picture a bunch of homeless people, rusty shopping carts with wheels that barely turn, empty boxes of Narcan, and an abundance of hypodermic needles scattered on the ground. But not this overpass. Little Jamaica was a natural spring that poured out of the ground and trickled down the hill into a man made pool, and I feel so lucky that I was able to visit it 2 separate times. It was so much fun just to sit down there, relax, listen to the sound of water dripping into the pool while having a drink and staring at that emerald water. But those days are long gone. I don't know exactly when, but Little Jamaica was dismantled around late 2021, early 2022, mainly because of construction on the nearby highway, but also because of public safety concerns, liabilities, and the douchebags that would visit there on their trip to Las Vegas and leave their beer cans and garbage all over the place. And here's a screenshot of a video from the channel Wonder Hussy Adventures showing it filled in with rocks dated April 2023. Have you ever been to Little Jamaica? And finally, number 1, Metro Center Mall in Phoenix, Arizona. It may look like a dump that's been overrun by criminals and drug addicts, but during its prime, Metro Center Mall was the place to be. The mall first opened in October of 1973 and included the following anchor stores: Sears, Rhodes, Brothers, Diamonds, Goldwaters, and the Broadway. At one point in time, it was even considered the largest shopping center in the United States. Now, I never got the chance to visit Metro Center Mall, but I sure wish I did. Many stores came and went throughout the mall's run. It even had an ice rink, skate park, and a movie theater. What more could you ask for? They even filmed some scenes here from the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But how could such a thriving, vibrant shopping center go from boom to doom? Well, after the 1980s, when additional malls started popping up around the valley, creating fierce competition, occupancy levels continued to drop, despite rejuvenation efforts to get more people in the door. The rise of crime in the area didn't help either. I was just out there toward the end of February, and I saw so many homeless people and a lot of suspicious activity. It doesn't surprise me why people quit going there and tried out other malls. Metro Center Mall finally closed its doors in 2020, and as of March 2025, it's currently being demolished. And can you guess what they're going to do with the space? Well, if you guessed more housing, restaurants, and places to shop, you'd be right. I was able to get my drone over castles and coasters a number of times, and despite the mall being torn down, it seems to be doing pretty well. I think castles and coasters will stand the test of time, and when they do put up apartments, restaurants, and stores, I think business will continue to pick up. Because if you like this video, consider clicking the video in the upper left to see 10 abandoned places in California while you still can.